want to thank everybody for coming, and if we could stand and face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. And we have a special guest here today that's joining us, and he is become a good friend of ours, and we work a lot with the food bank, and I'm a fan of the food bank because I feel like it filters to all of the necessary outlets to get the food out to the churches and to the community centers and all of that. So I thought Jim can come and give us just a quick update on how our local food bank's doing. On your tables are baskets. If you guys feel inclined, I was going to collect it at the end of lunch if we want to do a donation. So every dollar is 10 pounds of food, right, Jim? $10 worth of food, because they get to stretch their dollar a lot farther than we can. So I thought it'd be helpful this time of the year if you feel like you want to donate. I'll come around at the end of lunch. But if we can give a warm welcome to Jim.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the great lunch. And I'm in the food business. Every time I can't help it. I'm always around food. Ben is correct when she says that we're able to take a little bit of money and stretch it a long, long way. The food bank, East Illinois Food Bank, belongs to a network of food banks, 204 food banks around the country, 8 in the state of Illinois. And we're able to leverage that membership to private donations from food manufacturers and purchasing power that's incredible. We do a lot of bartering and trading with the food banks, even just in our area in the state. So we're able to do that. A little bit about us, if you don't know us, we're one of 8 food banks in Illinois. We serve 14 counties, all the way up from Iroquois County in the north to Clay County in the south. We sort of hug the Indiana-Illinois state line. The total population of the area we serve is about 530,000 people. The number of people that we provide food for last year was 102,000 of 535,000. Do the math. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. Now, people say, that's incredible in a place like, this part of the state or in Illinois. But it's reality. We know that 79,000 to 80,000 people every day in those 14 counties have to struggle on where their next meal might come from. So when a kid leaves school, he doesn't necessarily know whether he's going to eat that day. Now that's kind of the downside of what we do. The upside is we do a really great job of providing food to 220 agencies and programs. The bulk of those, about 53% of those are in Champaign County, because it's our largest county, followed by Vermilion County and Coles County. I threw this out, people say, wow, you must raise, Vermilion County, Danville, that's a pretty, depressed area. The largest poverty rate we have is in Champaign County. Champaign, Urbana, and Rantoul make up a metro area. It has the highest extreme poverty rate in the state of Illinois. More than Rockford, more than East St. Louis, more than Chicago. That's the rates, not the people, not the number of people, but it's the statistical rate. The difference is that there's a lot of education, a lot of income, but there are a lot of low-paying jobs in East Central Illinois. Manufacturing jobs left here at a very large rate. We're very fortunate. We get our food from manufacturers such as ConAgra and Kraft. We love Kraft here. Great people. Give us a lot of food. About 48 to 50% of our food comes through food donation. Food drives. Everybody likes to do food drives. Food drives give us about only 1% of our total volume of food. So that's why we'd rather have money than food, because we can go out and buy that. But food drives are important. We use food drives as entry level into the conversation about hunger. Particularly with kids. A kid gives you $1, he gives you, that doesn't mean anything. But if he takes a jar of peanut butter from his shelf at home and brings it, that's meaningful. Yeah. So we really use food drives in that way, and to get people engaged. The other food comes from the USDA commodity program, which wasn't started to help poor people. It was started to help farmers get rid of excess commodities. Now it's an integrated program that runs throughout the country. We get around 20% of our food from that, and the rest of the food we actually buy, just like a wholesaler would. We don't get it quite as good at prices as Super Value, but we do pretty well, and then we can pass that on to our agencies. Our agencies do not pay anything for donated food. They pay a service fee for us to deliver that food, and then they pay us the cost plus the service charge for the food that we buy. And then the commodity food is always delivered to them free. 60% of all of our food is delivered to people, to the agencies, and only 40% is picked up. We prefer to deliver food because we found if we deliver the food, they distribute more food because they have storage problems and mostly trucking problems. They come up in a sedan or a minivan, and we send a truck out. So we work very, very well with those agencies around the 14 counties. Our funding, we get no federal dollars, we get no state dollars. We do have a contract with the state of Illinois to provide the commodity program. And believe it or not, we do get paid by the state. We're one of the few not-for-profits in this area that actually gets their money on time every quarter. I mean, we get it. They have not missed a payment. It's pass-through money. And we scream very loudly to Congress if we don't get our money for this. 58% of our funds come from private donations, grants, and then about 24 to 25% come to the program, and the rest are fees that we charge to the state to deliver that other food. So it's a community-based organization. We have a board, and it's made up of community people. We'd like to have them represent every county, but they don't. They're primarily Champaign, Vermilion, and Coles, because that's the closest. We have 1,400 registered volunteers at the food bank. 1,400 people have registered to work at our food bank. We have the equivalent of 3.5 full-time people every day. And that saves us an incredible amount of money. So we live on volunteers. So if you're not a volunteer, go to our website, sign up, and this lovely lady named Kristen, who's our manager of community relations, she gets a hold of you and she can put you to work. So we've got a very, very special relationship with realtors in Champaign County, particularly. We really do. This organization such as yours have been very, very supportive. I think you understand that strong communities are made up of people who care about what goes on in their community. Mm-hmm. Our mission statement says, alleviating hunger, building nourishing stronger communities. And the nourishing strong community part is what makes us a very, very special organization. Not just this food bank, but all the food banks across the state. So thanks again. Thanks for having me. Thanks for lunch.
Okay, and I'm sure he's going to be here through the lunch, so if you guys have any questions afterwards, you could find him. I first want to recognize a few of our guests that we have here that need introduction. We have Matt Difanis as immediate past president with CCAR, so thanks for being here, Matt. Todd Salin with our current president. Thank you for being here, Todd. We have the Eric Johnson as our past local president for WCR, Eric. And Carol, who was in 2011, past president for WCR, Carol. And then we also have some visitors from Peoria chapter, Melissa Stevenson. Thanks for being here. Governor Sue Strange, she's here. Sue, wave. Okay, you did. And then Carol's also our state president for secretary for our state for 2013. I couldn't get it out. 2013. So congratulations, Carol, again. And then Dana is our immediate past president for the state of Illinois as well. So welcome, everybody. All right. Well, we had, I think, what was a fantastic year for WCR this year. We were very blessed to get the involvement and have a great board that served with us this past year. Margie Haas, who's not present today, Fawn Newsom as our VP of membership. Thank you, Fawn. And Adrienne, I'm missing, my room hasn't been seen. There she is, Adrienne over there. And then Chris Diana, of course. Started out the year talking about time management, and I'm wondering in December, how did all of you do this year? Did we time block? So that was kind of our goal this year, knowing our schedules. Sam came down from Chicago, and we did the getting the buyer's agency agreement signed and getting 3% commissions on the buyer side. So that was fun, and learning opportunities there. We talked about short sales this year, great RPAC updates, and Walter Stanford. I know that was a huge hit up at the for Wells Fargo that came down with us at Hawthorne. So we had a great turnout for that. So it's been I think a fantastic year of education and training and networking opportunities. However, I'm looking forward to the years to come. I think we've made it past the over the hill on the market, and I believe our economy is heading in the right direction for our industry especially. And so for 2013, I would love to see the support continue and strengthen for the board ahead, and I appreciate everyone's involvement in this last year that you might have contributed to our chapter, that all of you did. And looking forward to another great year. Even though I'm not the president anymore, I'm not going very far. So thank you so much for all that you did and for a great year. And I think, Todd, you're up next. You have your notes here, I think.
I know.
There you go.
I have a built-in microphone, so I won't use that. First of all, I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the educational programs that you put together for us. Thank you for your commitment to realtors and to Champaign County. You are such a valuable asset to the work that the board and that all the rest of us, the other 430 or so realtors across the county, you're such a great asset for us, and maybe underappreciated, but I applaud you. I had my serious indoctrination into WCR at the National Convention this year. I stayed at the WCR Hotel, okay? And and Carol was there at every meeting. She represented you well. More hairspray and glitter than I've ever seen in my entire life. But it was a wonderful experience, and I was absolutely amazed at the numbers of programs and meetings, and I could see it firsthand, of course, because I was walking through the hotel all the time, the numbers of things that the WCR was involved in, and it was a great exposure for me and a great opportunity to do this. So let's move on with the installation. Another year has passed, and the 2012 officers are retiring. Look, Alex is here. Alex, I don't get to see you at my office. It's so nice to. All right, good to see you. Christmas party, no. The 2012 officers are retiring. Will you all stand as I call your names? Chris Diana, Adrienne Peppers, Fawn Newsom, Margie Haas, and Manda Crawford. We're grateful for the time and effort you've invested in the Women's Council of Realtors. You have served us well, and your impact on the Champaign chapter is appreciated. Your new role will be supported, but will be to support the officers who follow you with guidance and compassion. Our heartfelt thanks are to you. Let's give them all a round of applause. And I now declare the office is vacant. So I could stop here and we could move up, or we could, that's probably not what I was brought here to do. So will the officers-elect come forward, and I'll call you as I call your name. The immediate past president, Manda Crawford. And Secretary, Eric Johnson. The treasurer, Adrienne Peppers. President-elect, Sue Strang. And our President, Chris Diana. All of you have definite jobs to perform, but most importantly, you can create a strong support system for the president. Your duties include serving on the governing board and any other special assignments which the president and your board may deem appropriate. Chris Diana, you are honored to be installed into the highest office of the Champaign chapter of the Women's Council of Realtors. We will all look to you for leadership that will bring us great success and harmony, and all we will undertake in the coming year. In the roles that you are about to assume, you will be identified as officers of the Champaign County chapter of Women's Council of Realtors, dedicated to the best interests of the public and the welfare of your members. As newly elected officers, you are entering upon a new phase of service, cooperation, and leadership. You will exemplify the best that realtors have to offer their profession. Guard this trust carefully and give full measure of your time, qualities, and leadership to your chapter and your fellow members of the Women's Council of Realtors, so that the Champaign chapter will continue to grow in service to our profession. Are you ready to accept the various responsibilities of your offices?
We are.
Please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly promise and swear to administer the office to which you have been elected to the best of your judgment and ability, conforming to the bylaws of the Women's Council of Realtors, observing and enforcing at all times the code of ethics, and supporting at all times the activities and interests of the Women's Council of Realtors?
Yes.
Then, by the virtue of the authority conferred on me, I declare you and each of you to be duly and officially installed in your respective offices, and I extend to you my heartfelt congratulations and good wishes. May members, may I present to you the officers of the Champaign chapter of the Women's Council of Realtors.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, here we have a room full of well-fed, relaxed people, a microphone, and me. We could all be in a lot of trouble. Seriously, I'd like to thank all of you for being here today, but before I say anything else, I did want to acknowledge some individuals in particular, all of our past and present state and chapter officers, the ones, especially some of them, had a good distance to go to come here on a busy time of the year, so I appreciate that. Our non-member guests, thank you all for joining us. Todd, thanks for conducting the ceremony. And Matt Difanis for being willing to do the video for today. Matt has become something of a one-man real estate paparazzi around here, and so we were glad he could take the time to join us here today. There are also some individuals I'd like to acknowledge who have already stepped up to help us with changing a little bit of the focus of the Champaign chapter for the coming year. In past years, there have been a lot of chapter responsibilities that have fallen to officers or members individually. And while they've done a great job in handling those tasks, it can sometimes be a heavy burden. WCR has offered some optional ways to organize this year, and we've decided to take advantage of a few of those possibilities. This year we will have an events coordination chair, and Shay Peoples has volunteered to take that position. Shay got tied up and couldn't make it over here today, but she will be coordinating some of that for us. We will also be replacing the position of Vice President of Membership with a membership committee. Along with Sue Strang and me, there are 800 individuals who already stepped up to work on our first committee. Most of them are here today, and I'd like to acknowledge them. Fawn Newsom. Go ahead, stand, Fawn, if you would. Erica Bales, Myrna Weber, Denise Zindars, Joey Matthews, Barb Schwartz, Jan Burkett, and Marianne Royce. Please give them all a hand, if you would. A key part of putting that committee together for me is that for 2013 it will be chaired by our very able past president, Amanda Crawford. We had a great response from people willing to serve on this committee, but chairing a committee that's still a work in progress is a little bit more daunting task. However, when I voiced that need to Amanda, it came as no surprise to me that she said, if you need my help, I'll be glad to do it. I think that's what she said, something like that. Amanda, would you please come back up here for a moment? It was close to that. It really was.
What, close to done?
No.
Oh.
No, it was close to that, what you said. Not close to done. Amanda has been a member of WCR since 2005, and along with many other WCR activities, has served in all of the offices on the board. As our 2012 president, she worked enthusiastically to keep the chapter growing and to bring us the best possible programs, events, and speakers. Amanda truly represents a dedication to what I believe are the core values of Women's Council of Realtors: education, networking, and leadership. For her tireless efforts on behalf of WCR, I have the honor of presenting Amanda Crawford with the outgoing president's gavel, along with our heartfelt thanks.
Thank you.
There you go.
It doesn't come off though, does it?
No, I made sure it was one you couldn't get off of it. Yeah.
Darn it. Oh, thank you guys all very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's customary for the incoming president to say a few words at this time, and after a lot of arm twisting, I agreed that I would do that. Typically, these speeches start with some time-tested cliches, and I considered those, but they didn't seem to do the job. I thought of the standard big shoes to fill, but that wouldn't work. Amanda has very small, very nice shoes. They won't do a thing for me, so that was out. I then considered something like the bar has been set very high. But then it was suggested to me that discussion of bars and leadership and things that were high would not be appropriate either. So, I had to settle for the idea that I'll be following a long series of very successful professionals who worked tirelessly to try and expand and improve the Champaign chapter of WCR. Indeed, and this is for you who keep checking your programs to make sure you're at the right luncheon, I will be the Champaign president for next year. But I said there have been some fantastically qualified individuals who have held this office since the chapter was founded in, I believe, 1971. And this year, because some officers' personal time and job commitments changed unavoidably, we had to shuffle things around. So when leadership needed someone to move up to fill this position, apparently their best choice was obvious. Now, don't feel alone if you're laughing. I have a couple of ex-wives who may need smelling salts or some other medical treatment for hysteria when they hear about this, but I always maintain they didn't really understand me. So, all right, now we got that out of our system. Let me tell you why I believe this office is actually an ideal fit for me and why I'm thrilled to have this opportunity. Women's Council of Realtors was established as a division of the National Association of Realtors in 1938 to recognize the position women were assuming in our business, and since that time it's continued to help women to break through the many barriers to be what they could be and not what traditionally they'd been allowed to be in the real estate industry. That effort accelerated greatly during all the changes that took place in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which of course was quite a few years before everyone here was focused on their business goals, and matter of fact, a long time before many of you were even born. However, I remember those times very well, except for a few concerts that are kind of fuzzy. But during the 60s, I transitioned from junior high to high school to college. I saw changes from everything in the structure of college sports to the structure of Fortune 500 companies. I got married. I started my first business. Now, the equal rights movement was a big part of that era. But since we're part of a full disclosure business, I have to admit I was not exactly collecting Helen Reddy albums or participating in campus sit-ins or bra burnings. Well, full disclosure, I was a staunch supporter and willing volunteer at bra burnings, but I was young, and that's another story that's inappropriate for today, so we'll leave that there.
Keep going.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. Those of you who know me know that I'm really a very conservative person, with a long background as an entrepreneur, an equally long background in professional, community, charitable, and youth organizations. What that means to me is that I'm an intense believer in the rights of individuals. The right to dream of being whatever they want to be, and the right to an opportunity to achieve that dream. I don't believe anyone has a right to equal outcomes, but anytime, any place, I will willingly defend everyone's right to an equal opportunity to achieve their own outcome. So that's what the 60s was about for me. It was about the realization that even in the greatest and freest country in the history of the world, there were still too many obstacles being put in the way of many people's opportunities to be successful. In 1968, instead of being at a training camp I was scheduled for, I spent the summer working with my older brother and some volunteers doing voter registration in North Carolina, because we believe that the opportunity to vote is something that every eligible legal citizen in this country is entitled to exercise. The women's rights movement of that time challenged some of the same types of legal and cultural barriers. To our collective credit, today most of those have been broken down, one way or another. Today the battles over those issues have faded, but to me there's still one of the most difficult barriers left to overcome, and that is the prejudice of limiting beliefs. While this is a soft prejudice, it's actually one of the hardest things to overcome. That is because those limiting beliefs may originate with others. It's all too easy for those ideas to slip into our own consciousness and become our beliefs too. Sometimes that happens simply because we focus on the wrong things. See, our tendency can be to buy into stereotypes and use some more of those cliches, often without even realizing it. Let me give you an example. Typically, this could be a good time to tell you a story from my background, like when I was 35, my second wife and I split up, and I ended up the single parent of a 5-year-old son who just started kindergarten. Now, I had a brand new straight commission job in a previously failed territory, a job that required me to be out of town on the road every day, some evenings and weekends. And I kept that job and subsequent rise through management with that same company, all the while raising my son, who made it through childhood, high school graduation, on to college. Now, at the end of this story, we could have a bonding moment, celebrate our shared struggle, and a couple of choruses of Kumbaya, whatever else we wanted to do. Now, those of you who know me know I'm also not much on Kumbaya moments. But more to the point, that story has nothing to do with what we have in common. Those are just things that happen to people as they go through life. Those are the circumstances we find ourselves in, not who we are. In itself, being a single parent is no more limiting than being a married parent, or married without children, or single. Each of us is still the same person in each of those circumstances, and we still have unlimited choices that we can make in any situation. It is too easy to see the differences in people first and start sorting them into little groups based on those differences. We have plenty of differences right here in this room. Age differences, different genders, different races, where we grew up, where we live, where we went to school, the church we attend, or if we don't attend church. Focusing on those differences creates the need to start rating those differences. And that creates the environment of limited beliefs. That's where they begin. Who is better or worse at doing what? Who can or can't do something? However, those limiting beliefs fade when we focus instead on our strengths and on what we have in common. So what do we have in common? We are all professionals working in a business of our choice. Most of us are self-employed, which means we have chosen to take responsibility for our own success, to plan and budget and grow our business to whatever level our goals determine. That is our common bond, and it's a clear and strong one. In fact, the only relevant part of any story about my son Matt would be that he's a self-employed business person too. Now, I'm very proud of him. Would have invited Matt to be here today, except that he and his girlfriend are visiting her parents in Indianapolis for the first time. I know. I believe I'll increase my plan and sell a couple more houses next year. I can see where that's going. But I'm very proud of Matt because I'm grateful that he's made the same choice most of us have, and that is to take control of his own future. For about 7 years now, he's been a straight commission tattoo artist at a shop over on Church Street. He does his own budget, creates his own advertising, buys his equipment, manages his schedule, pays his estimated taxes. In other words, exactly the same things we do. If he was here today, he probably would have been networking with you all about a WCR discount on tattoos. In fact, I was going to offer that I would pay myself for anyone who wants to get a tattoo of the WCR logo at his shop. But even though Marianne Royce couldn't be here today, she did insist that I add the addendum, subject to approval of the location of the tattoo. What can I say? Apparently she knows some of you better than I do. So what do all of us have in common? Not only have in common with each other, but in common with a 31-year-old guy who does tattoos. It's those shared beliefs. The core beliefs I mentioned before are what initially attracted me to the Women's Council of Realtors and what I believe are the true strengths of this organization. Education, to improve how we conduct our business. Networking, to help our businesses grow. And leadership, to help us conduct ourselves in the way we wish to be known in our business and personal life. Those are the three things that are the focus of what I see as strengths in WCR, and the three things I know are key to each of us achieving success and happiness. Now, it's a fantastic thing that we can share the benefits of those ideas and skills with each other. But that's not setting our goals, I think, anywhere near high enough. We need to strive for more than that. What I would like to ask you all to do is pause for a moment and consider something. Each of you has some experience with the devastating power of limiting beliefs. And I'd like you to reflect on that with me. Each of us has known at least one person, could be anyone, but for our purposes, make it a woman or a girl you have known whose life turned out differently because of limiting beliefs. Really focus on visualizing that person. Close your eyes for a minute if it helps you, and think along with me. This may be someone from your childhood, a friend, a classmate, a neighbor, someone who had a deep desire to do something exceptional with her life, a drive, an energy. She had dreams about her future. Maybe that person was a close friend or cousin, an aunt or niece, the kind of person you always knew would get where they wanted to go, who never tired about talking about their plans and goals. Maybe that person was even closer, a sister, a mother, or even worse, a daughter or granddaughter. Someone with talent and promise, and then at some point they stopped talking about those dreams. They seemed to lose the energy to keep fighting against the negatives, those limiting beliefs that other people kept insisting stood between their dreams and reality. The light kind of faded from their eyes, and what started out as the limiting beliefs of others became their limiting beliefs too. Maybe at some time that person was you. Maybe it was the person you saw in the mirror every morning who was holding you back with those sentences that start with I can't, or I'm not, or I could never, or no one would ever, or the 100 other limiting beliefs that can take the joy out of our goals and out of our lives. Now, whoever you've been picturing, imagine what her life would be like if she was surrounded by people who reject those kind of limitations. Kind of people who instead work together to help each other achieve as much as possible. That would be a powerful difference. Now, even if the person you imagined was you, I know that you found a way to work your way through that because you're here. And you're surrounded with people who share your ideas. But it is still something we must stay aware of every day, and we cannot settle for the idea that because we are okay, we've done enough. So here's my challenge to each of you. Right this minute, each one of you can think of at least one other person, an associate at your office, a friend, just someone you've worked with, someone who would have benefited from being here today. Not just benefited in terms of their business, but also in terms of living their life to the fullest. Next time, bring them with you. Make it your job to give them the opportunity to change things. And if you do get them here, I guarantee you that we will provide an educational opportunity that will teach them new things to use in their business and their life. We will connect them with like-minded professionals who they'll be glad to know inside and outside of work. We'll provide them with leadership opportunities to whatever extent they want, and we will do the best we can to see that all of us have fun while we're doing it. Now, doing that will keep expanding this organization of ours and provide the next generation of support for you or for that friend or niece or daughter or granddaughter who will be coming along in the future. Now, is that something you're willing to do? Is that a yes? Yes. I figured so. I knew you would be willing to, which is just one of the things I love about the people in this room and WCR. And it is just one of the reasons I'm not only proud, but I am honored to serve as your president for 2013. Thank you all for providing me with this opportunity, and together, let's make 2013 a year to remember. Thank you.